right, this is a very special episode today. I am talking with my friend Sancha, who I met in the Antler program. She is an amazing woman who has become my accountability partner throughout the past over a year and a half now. And I
Mhm.
finally roped her into having a discussion with me today. So, Sancha, welcome to the show.
Hi, you roped me into it. You did.
Yes, yes, yes. I've been wanting to get you onto the podcast for a very long time. I think that having a accountability partner for both of us over this past year and a half has been extremely valuable. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, from your perspective, how we got into this partnership to begin with, and like what the whole journey was of our friendship up until this point.
I joined the Antler program, and I was in a definitely like a interesting time of my life. I think I'm still in an interesting time of my life, but we had just moved to Saigon, um, and I started the program like a couple of weeks, maybe a month after we had moved.
Mm.
Um, and you were, going into the starting the program, it's like, I don't know, how many people were there?
Like 80, I think.
40,
Yeah.
40, 80 people. I don't know. I'm really bad with like judging quantity, but it's a lot of people. And you go and it's like the first day of school, right? So I didn't know anyone. Um, New to the city as well. So still figuring out my way. I'd never done like a business incubator. In starting this kind of like career pivot type of thing, maybe not like the normal demographic for that type of program. And you, I think, really stood out because you were one of like the warmest personalities in the room, and I was really drawn to that. And plus you had a really interesting story because when we did the program together, it was your second time through.
That's right. Yeah.
um so already I'm like bookmarked, like, talk to that guy.
Yeah, exactly. I was
And
like,
then I had heard you, because I don't think you're loud, but I think you're like memorable. So I think I had like overheard a conversation where you had been talking maybe to someone else, and I had learned a little bit about you just hearing maybe your introduction to the group as part of the program. We're doing intros, and you had been living in Saigon already, and I always think it's really interesting to hear what makes foreigners move to Vietnam.
mm,
Um, so it was definitely right away. I was like, I need to talk to that guy. And then, as we continued through the program together, we had a lot of stuff in common. And then I know that we had wanted to work together. We had tried to work together in the program. And I think that's really where our conversation, the foundation of our friendship. To me, it feels like you're like the work friend that we've never worked together.
I know that's what
It's
I was
like,
struggling with the whole
it feels
time.
like that, right? It feels like we're like office buddies, but
Yeah.
we've never actually worked together before.
Hmm.
We did the program together, but even in the program, we worked together for only a short amount of time. We
Hmm.
didn't go through like any, like, I think of when you think of like an office friend or a work friend, you think about like the trials and tribulations, like the terrible clients, the nightmare projects that you worked together
Hmm.
on, and then that's how you get closer. But we didn't really have that. We were
Hmm.
just we feel like we've worked together, we want to work together. Um, but we actually haven't in like a typical job or like a professional capacity. But I think that it was has become the foundation of our accountability partnership.
No,
So
absolutely.
I think that's why it works out.
Absolutely. And it's funny, like, for anyone who knows or doesn't know our situation, like, I was constantly trying to recruit you to my team every single week because I think it was the first day that I saw, like, we were doing the founder introductions, and I was just like, wow, this woman can present very well, because your presentation skills were really good, and that's very rare. You know what I mean? So I think that
Mm.
maybe one of the things that what I got from the constant rejection is the fact that is the fact that, we both have a business background. I'm kind of like more in the management side. You are more in like the marketing and like that type of side. So I think that, you know, maybe that would have caused a little bit of tension in that sense, or hesitation. But I still think that it's worked out great, for both of us.
I think so too. I
Yeah.
think my hesitation when working together is that our skills overlap.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
We do very similar things.
Yes, yes, yes,
So
yes.
so that is the only my that's my only hesitation with working together is that our skills overlap. We kind
That's
of do the same things. And
that's
not that I think there would be like any type of ego between us. Obviously there is not. I don't think I would be we would be fighting with each other or anything. And if we did, I think we'd work it out.
yeah,
But on a team, on a slim team, you don't want the skills over.
that's true. That
That's
is
what
true.
everyone tells me. It's on a
Honestly.
slim team. You're trying not to overlap in skill sets. You want
Yep.
to diversify.
Yep.
So that's my only like hesitation. It's like we are fantastic teammates, you and I.
Hmm.
That's why we make good accountability partners. But
Absolutely.
on like a startup, I'm just like, I need like I
Yeah.
don't
You
need
need
a friend.
backup.
I need like a
Yeah.
yeah, we need like the opposite person. And we're not the opposite person. We have like so much in common.
That's
Like
true.
our the way we work and everything, it's just so easy between us.
That's true.
Um,
That is
which
true.
makes us great accountability partners, but maybe not great startup co-founders. I don't know, but maybe it's like maybe that's just the conventional wisdom, and maybe we are going to find our idea and work on it together, and we'll have two co-founders that have similar skill sets, but it'll still work out because the thing that I've learned is that there's no hard and fast rule for anything.
No, honestly, I think that it's still a possibility. And,
It's still a possibility. Yeah, for sure.
what this past year and a half has taught me is that, there's very few people that I trust to talk about, a lot of, these work related things.
Hmm.
We talked so much about like the emotions that go into like building a startup, and the uncertainty and managing that, navigating that uncertainty. It's just really helped to have somebody external from a co-founding team, external from your own mind to bounce ideas off of and talk about. So, can you talk a little bit about some of the some of the emotions that you went through when building your startup ideas and going through different teams and things like that?
Mainly frustration.
Mm,
I don't know. It's like I think that I'm like an overthinker
mm,
anyway. And with startup stuff, there's so many things to think about that being an overthinker is really like not great.
mm,
Um, because there's already so much. So
yep.
spending too much time on one thing hurts you because you have to cover a lot of ground.
Hmm.
Um, And so, like, with that thinking, is you asked about like emotions. Like, what emotions have you, what have you learned in terms of emotions when doing a startup in the past year and a half? And it's just that don't like for me, like, try not to dwell.
Hmm. Hmm.
It changes if there's it. The only constant. It's such like stereotypical Buddhist saying, but it's like the only change of only constant is change. Is that what they say? Um, you can feel a certain way
Hmm.
about maybe the idea that you're working on, or even a person on your team, a person you're trying to recruit on your team, a person you have just recruited on your team. You can feel a certain type of way, and
Hmm.
then in a week something will happen, and then everything is different. It's a completely different situation, like
Yep.
completely different feelings. And so like feel what you need to feel, of course. I am definitely one that is like trust your gut,
Hmm.
like, you know, pay attention to it and try to dig around and see, like pull on the thread and like
Hmm.
see why you're feeling that way.
Yep.
But understand that something will come up, and then in next week, in a day, in a couple days, in a week, in a couple months, and then
Yep.
it'll be completely different. And then you'll look back and you'll be like, why, for except for me, I'm just like, why did I spend so much energy, like emotional energy, on feeling like that?
Yeah,
when it didn't even matter. It doesn't even matter.
that's true.
So
Yep.
when you go through it again, like feel it, but like let it go. Feel lightly. You know what I mean?
You're talking a lot about what I've learned through my meditation practice and the Vipassana course that I went through is like everything is temporary, right?
Yeah.
If not to dwell on things, not to get attached to things. And
Yeah.
that's helped me a lot, honestly, because it's just a lot of ups and downs. I got so much
There's a lot of ups and downs.
right? Like you remember, when my old co-founder in the cohort we were in, we got great feedback the entire time. Like every single pitch session, we always answered all the questions. Everything was going
Yeah.
fine. And then the last IC, we
The
didn't,
crash.
and it was a complete
Yeah.
like it was something that we didn't even expect, something they didn't tell us anything about, and it was really frustrating. But I
Mhm.
could let that
And it's
completely derail my career, but now,
yeah.
it's giving me fuel to start my own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. You have to be like relentless.
Yeah.
It is relentless. The whole job and situation. And if you want to do this, it's relentless. And you also have to be relentless. You also have to like be frustrated that it didn't work out the way you wanted it to. Maybe be frustrated that, well, I wish someone had pointed that out, or I wish we had realized that. It's so obvious now, right? But feel it. Obviously, that's frustrating. Don't pretend it's not frustrating. That's fucking sucks. I just worked like 8 weeks or whatever on
Yep.
this stupid thing, but then smart, like go for a drink, take a nap, get a good night's sleep, wake up tomorrow and figure out a different plan. Just
Yep.
start writing, start building something else.
Hmm.
Like you just have to keep building something else, or like thinking about building something else, or figuring out it's okay, well, that's what I learned.
Hmm.
And next time I'm going to, if it is within my control, these are the things that I will do. Right. But
Yeah.
a lot of stuff just also is not in your control.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I
I
found
think that's what
yeah,
I've learned. Yeah.
I've also found that, being able to talk to you about a lot of the things that been going through has helped me a lot with steering my direction and stuff. You've been
Yeah.
instrumental in like giving me really great tips on marketing, really like being there as somebody I can talk to about some of the struggles that I'm going through. And it's helped me a lot find clarity in terms of what I'm doing. I'm curious to see as how this partnership has helped you as well.
Yeah. I think I always feel so energized after getting off of calls with you. I always look forward to them, even if like part of the accountability thing is like we were doing this in a more structured way at the beginning of our like partnership, where
Mhm.
we would meet every week, and we've tried out different formats, right? And we're kind of in a phase where it's more open right now, but
Mhm.
in one of our original formats, it might be helpful for people to hear, is that we had a Notion board, and then we set goals that we each wanted to get done for the next week,
Mhm.
and then we would meet again to see if we had done those goals.
Yep.
One of the more interesting things that we did was that we had a penalty. So for every goal that you wrote, which we've dropped, but for a while we had a penalty where
Uh,
if you wrote a goal and you did not complete it by the next week, then you had to pay the other person money.
yes.
I forget how much it was. It was only a couple bucks. It was like enough for a coffee, but each goal, if
Uh,
you, this is what this was a lesson for us learned, because it stopped us from making goals that we didn't think like we couldn't realistically complete by the next week, because goal each each goal was attached to a separate penalty. So if you made 8 goals and you only completed 4 of them,
yeah.
it adds up. And so
Uh,
that was really helpful. That was really helpful for us, because I think one time, you think it's only like, oh, each, penalty is only like a cup of coffee. But then like 4 or 5 coffees later in your head, I'm just like, I think I just had late dinner.
no, honestly, I think that there was a stretch. I think you had something going on or whatever. There was like you did not complete like 10 of your goals, and now I
So
have like
yeah,
like a million like VND in my account still from
I
that time.
did. I did. I was like, I think I just bought him and his wife dinner.
So funny. So funny. But
Yeah,
no,
but I mean, I always leave like but even outside of that, even when we don't have as much structure right now, or we've dropped the penalties and we don't always set like very specific goals like we did before. I always leave our conversations really, really energized and motivated to keep working on the next thing. For me, some of the projects that I work on are alone, like
Mhm,
solopreneur.
mhm,
So like, I just had a baby. I have a kid. I went back to school to get an MBA. And so finding a team to work on is a little bit difficult. And plus, like, sometimes you have an idea, you want to start building it, and you don't always have the right co-founder lined up already, right? You want to start building or at least like testing out concepts. I do this alone, and so that can be really difficult because I don't necessarily have like a teammate to like bounce stuff off of, but you have been that teammate. And
mhm,
that's been really, really helpful.
mhm.
Kind of like an what do they call it? Like a fractional C
Oh, yes,
level.
yes.
You can get like a fractional CEO, fractional CMO, fractional CTO. You have been like a fractional co-founder, which
Right.
has been really helpful for
Mhm.
someone like me who's working on concepts that might not have the team behind it yet, right? I'm still just like messing around.
Totally.
And I think especially with us, it's always been easy to be like really direct
Mhm,
and straightforward and
mhm,
to kind of like call each other out a little bit
mhm.
with like no drama,
No.
emotional maturity, things like that. But also we've been doing this for so long because I feel like a year and a half is like this is a great partnership. Plus
Mhm,
we did the Antler program together.
mhm,
um we know enough about each other and like how we work, or at least I feel like you know enough about me and how I work and like what motivates me, and a bit about my lore, and like you have a sense of what my strengths are, my weaknesses are, where when I'm working on a project, you can always point out my blind spots, like you should be working on this, or like you should work on this next.
mhm.
Sometimes when I'm working during the week, and this I'm sure every person that like works on stuff, you get like lost, right? You
Yes,
get
yes.
lost in the sauce.
Yep.
You're working head down, you're like, I'm focused on this week, I'm going to try really hard to get like this many, and then you kind of get too focused on a problem that you're working with.
Mhm.
That call with you, that check-in with you, i'm always I know that I'm always able to ask, like, am I working on the right thing? Like, what should I be doing? Can you tell me what I should be doing right now? And you
Yeah.
will always be like, you're spending too much time on this, or no, you need to go back and do this, or no, go back 2 steps. I think like what you're you listen to me, and then you'll be able to tell me, like, in your opinion, this is what you should be working on.
Mhm,
and
mhm.
um, and I think that is also like super, super helpful to kind of like pull me up and out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's helped me a lot too. There's a lot of things that I still don't know about like running a company, and especially with like promoting myself and getting my stuff out there. You've been instrumental in helping me work through those things. And also just giving me great advice. You come from a background completely different from mine. You've worked with some major corporations and on huge multi-million dollar projects, and it's been really great to hear your perspective on things. And yeah, I wish that, we could have found a chance to work together during the program, but I love what we're doing now, and I hope that our conversation today inspires others to reach out to somebody to get an accountability partner so that they can go through the entrepreneurial journey together and not alone, because it is a very lonely journey. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit
Mhm.
about that as well, like how lonely has it been?
It is, because I think for me it is lonely. Although I will say, like, in my life, I don't feel a sense of loneliness often.
Right.
Maybe I'm an introvert, but I really like being alone.
Mm,
I really like just being in a room and working by myself. Like, if I can spend weeks doing that, I would be so happy. But
mhm.
they tell you this, like, you can't do things alone. And if you try to do this, you will quickly find that for me, it's like the thing that I need the most is the thing that I cannot do. I need someone else to help me, because like I don't know how to do this, and I can't just like learn this whole new skill set, this whole area of expertise like right now at the level that I need it to be at.
Mhm.
Um and so like it's I don't like people say like it's a lonely journey, and I see that, but I don't necessarily feel loneliness, but I do feel like a lack of like you need a team, and
Yeah.
like being on a team feels good,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
As much as I love working alone, and I think that like the path to being solopreneurs is rosier than ever with like that, AI helping you, and these platforms that can help you find like fractional help or Fiverr, like part-time help, things like that. But at the end of the day, if you want something of like a certain size, you need a team. You need you need more than you only get so far with
Yep.
just you and your lonely skill set. Um,
Mhm.
so I don't know if I feel it as loneliness as I don't know, as I
Mhm.
feel of it is like you just can't do it as
I
much as
think
even if you want to, right?
yeah.
You can't. It's
Yeah, that's
too
true.
hard.
That is true. I do feel like, it's all about how you consider like the loneliness part. Is it a time to reflect and time
Yeah,
to, be creative and things like that? And I think that you do a great job of that. But a lot of times when you're by yourself and you're not working and like you're just thinking about your business, it can be very hard and you're going through the challenges alone a lot of the times. There's been a lot
yeah,
of lows that we've spoken about as well, like where we've had to pivot or we're going through co-founder conflicts or something like that, right? And I think that if you're only by yourself dealing with those emotions, it can be very lonely and challenging. Uh,
that's true.
but us, like this has helped. It doesn't,
Yeah,
I don't feel
yeah,
as alone anymore because I have you, to go through all
it's true.
right?
Yeah.
Also, you have your husband, right, who's also an entrepreneur, right, who's helped as well.
Hmm.
Like I'm constantly in Japan, surrounding myself with other founders and stuff like that, building community. So it's been really great in that sense. And I think other founders should do that too, right? They should go out and
It
meet people.
they should. Everyone should do what you do, Lee, but not everyone has this like secret that I really do feel like that's your superpower. It comes so easily to you. And that's something that I really admire about you. Like it comes so easily. You do it so naturally. You do it at a clip that like I'm just like, I don't know how he can do this all like so much. But it's so beneficial, it's so important, it's good for your mental health, it's good for your network when you do find the right idea.
Hmm.
Like it's gonna be your propeller, right?
Yep, absolutely.
But yeah, I agree with you. Like everyone needs to do this, but you definitely have like a very special personality type, a special personality
Uh,
where this is like really one of your like special skill sets.
Oh yeah, I mean, I like to connect people and I like to, I'm a very curious person, so I'm always like wondering things about others and how other people think really fascinates me. So I'm always, like to ask questions and things like that. So hopefully this can inspire other people to do the same. Speaking of questions, my next question for you is, is it okay if we talk a little bit about what you're building at the moment? Because I honestly want this thing to become a reality because it would help me in my job as a teacher. So, can you tell me a little bit about what you're building at the moment?
We can. And it's been a little bit stop and go. I
Mm,
don't know what the word is. Because I did have a baby
mhm.
and I came up with this concept and I started this project while I was pregnant, kind of like mid to late pregnancy,
Mhm.
knowing that like I'm gonna have a kid and
Yes.
things are gonna get a little hairy on this.
Exactly.
Um, but I had, even back when we did Antler, like one of the areas that I've been interested in is education.
Hmm.
Um, I love learning, being in school, like taking lessons. Like I'm always like signed up for a class. I went back to school recently to get my MBA. I have a kid now. Now I have two kids, and so education from the littlest thing to the biggest thing has always been in my mind. And one of the lessons that I've been taking consistently for a long time is my Vietnamese. So
Hmm.
my parents are both Vietnamese. I'm Vietnamese American. And I grew up speaking Vietnamese at home, but I couldn't read and write. And I grew up speaking Vietnamese in America. And so my Vietnamese was kind of like stunted.
Hmm.
And also at a it's just like Vietnamese that you speak at home with your parents. It wasn't like professional Vietnamese, not definitely not business Vietnamese. It wasn't even really like adult Vietnamese.
Mhm.
Like I couldn't talk about politics or anything.
Right.
Um, so I have been taking Vietnamese lessons for a few years now. And I met you at the program, and so I knew like this is an area that I'm interested in. I met you, and you had also been interested in education. You have a background in teaching English,
Mhm.
and so we were trying to think of something to work together
Mhm.
in that vein as well. But during our accountability partnership, I had been watching you
Mhm.
grow your business as a freelance English teacher.
Mhm.
And I'm like, Lee, why don't you have all these problems? Like you're coming to our accountability,
Mhm.
all of our meetings, and it's a question about like, oh, this is so much work. I don't want to be doing this thing. I want to be doing that thing, but I have to do this thing. Or I was like, oh, like I got some new clients. This is really exciting. Or oh, like I think I might have to drop a client because it's like not a great fit. And just seeing you go through it because it's your bread and butter, right? You want to be an entrepreneur, but this is your bread and butter. This is how you pay your bills.
Mhm.
And so I had told you, I was like, Lee, why don't you just build a thing to solve all the problems that you're constantly running into with your English business? Like, clearly, there's like a business case for this. And like, I had looked up some of the numbers, like, how many English teachers are there? Like, what is the growth of this?
Mhm.
And it's maybe not necessarily like going to be a unicorn, but like that's not always a goal for, it's not my goal. But I was like, why don't you just build this? And you gave me the answer that I always give people when people tell me like, oh, you should just build like a marketing thing. And I'm just like, I don't want to build a marketing thing.
Right,
But
right.
I told you like you should build like an English business admin type of tool. And you're like, I definitely don't want to do that. And I was like, okay, I get it. I understand why you don't want to, because you want to do something else, right? That's not where your interests are.
Mhm.
But then, late last year, I was just like, I'm just gonna build it. Lee.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna build this thing to
Mhm.
help you. And then that'll be the end of it.
Yeah.
And I started to get really excited about it because language learning is obviously something that I don't take English lessons, but language learning is something that I have been a student of for a long time.
Mhm.
Um, I love small businesses.
Mhm.
It's focused in education. I think it, has like a social impact type of
Mhm.
point of view to it, where it's like you're helping people do
Mhm.
good as well. And so I started building. I met up with a friend of mine who's a developer, and we started building a platform right now that helps specifically freelancing teachers like you run their business so they can focus on doing what they originally get into teaching English for, which is like the connection with another human, like teaching, like
Yep.
the emotional payoff of teaching someone English. Like that's a huge payoff. But unfortunately, if you're a freelance English teacher, it comes with a lot of business and a lot of admin
Yep.
that you and others might not be necessarily, you might not have the experience or expertise to do, or just the time to like do all of that.
Yep.
And I still see you kind of like struggling with it, even though I'm here to help you every week.
Mhm.
Like, what's email marketing? And I'm like, well, how long do you have to sit? Because it's like a whole ass thing.
Yep. It
And you're
is.
like, what's CEO? It's what is social media marketing? It's like a whole ass thing.
Mhm.
And like that's fair. Like you and I think other people like you are here to teach a language, to help someone learn a language so they can connect with other people, get better job opportunities, whatever it is that, whatever motivates people to learn English or learn a different language.
100%.
Is you're there to facilitate that, to help facilitate someone, which is like a beautiful thing. But things like marketing, writing lesson plans,
Yeah.
finding like assets to teach with are
Yep.
all kind of like part of the grind that you might not want to do.
Here's the thing, right? I have a business. I'm very rare in the sense that I have a business degree, like a background in business as well as an English teaching background. And I know the areas where I am weak at with regards to business, but I know that I'm very strong
Hmm.
in English teaching. And, those things where I know that like marketing is preventing me from scaling my business. So, like, if there was some sort of tool that helped me learn that thing and do it seamlessly, but also allowed me to prepare lessons faster, grade faster, get analytics from all my teachings. It would make life a lot easier, like you said. And that's why I'm super excited about this thing that you're building
Hmm.
because I've actually been a beta tester. I've done,
Yes.
customer interviews, with you as well. And that's the great thing about this accountability partnership. You were struggling with some other ideas before in the education space,
Hmm.
mostly around kids. You actually did some pilot lessons teaching yourself at a
I did.
high school as well, and like you knew that teaching was not your thing, right?
Yeah.
But you were very passionate about educating people, right? So
Yeah.
I think that building this type of tool is a great way of doing it, and our partnership has helped, I think, a lot with that, and I can't wait to see the
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely. I mean, this is something that grew from our partnership. Like, like you had said, I was interested in education. I started a different project through the Antler program. I realized that one of the challenges that I have with working with education is that I don't personally like to teach. I'm personally not a teacher. Like I don't, it's not for me. Like I understand why people do it. And I did it in the pilot program that I did, but I I believe in education, but I don't necessarily want to be the person teaching. And so through our accountability partnership is how I found that like I can support the environment of teaching. I can help facilitate the environment of teaching
Hmm.
without needing to be the person that teaches.
That's right.
And like that is still really helpful and can be really powerful too. So that is something that came out of our partnership, our accountability
Mhm.
meeting every week with
Yep.
you. Like, Lee, what do I do? I don't know what to do. What should I do now?
I remember you telling me about the class that you had, and you were just like, "Yeah, I don't know if I want to do another one." I was like, "Oh, come on."
Like it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was cool. I get it, but
Well,
I
yeah.
don't know if I could do this again.
Well, no, sometimes, with entrepreneurship, you have to try things out in order to learn that they're not for you, right? And like
Hmm.
that is one thing that came from that. It's another learning. And that's great that you did that. Some
That's
people
another data point,
some
right?
people will not take that first step. They won't even think to ask for the pilot. They won't even think to ask to do those things. They'll just sit behind
You
their
have to try it.
plan, and then nothing works.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to try it. What you learn that is not for you is just as important as, you know, every door that you close is still as important as the ones that you open.
100%. So I'm very looking forward to, your product once it comes out. Can't wait to test it, can't wait to use it because, that is something that I'm super, super, super I need right now to scale my business. Absolutely.
Mhm.
But no, like I think that this partnership is something that I think hopefully will go for many years. Who knows? Maybe we'll potentially
Yeah.
work together on something in the future. If you scale your business up, or if I scale mine, we can help each other out. Like I'm curious to see your take about the Antler network and how it's been for you outside of just this partnership. Because for me, have people on my podcast. I still talk to some of the Antler folks.
Mhm.
Sometimes actually, you came to Tokyo this year or last year, I think. Yeah,
I did.
vacation.
Yeah, a couple
It was
months
this
ago
year.
in February.
And this
Yeah, it
year,
was this
yeah.
year in February.
So we all keep in touch. I'm wondering, how it's been for you.
Yeah. The Antler Network has definitely been like one of the best takeaways from the program itself.
Mhm.
So for people that might not know, um, once you do the program, there are these unaffiliated like WhatsApp groups, like alumni groups. It's not run by Antler itself, it's just kind of like self-organized.
Mhm.
I think that there is at least one WhatsApp like group that I'm in. I think there might be other stuff, I'm not sure.
Mhm.
Um, but that has been helpful,
Mhm.
definitely. But the best thing that came from the Antler in terms of network for me is you. Is this. It's
I
our accountability thing.
agree.
Um, I have met up with other ex-Antler
Hmm.
founders.
Hmm.
Um, and it's nice just to, I think like Antler is great where it's like if you meet someone from Antler or you realize that like you both did the Antler program, you're both alumni, you
Hmm.
can kind of ping them and just ask them questions, set up a coffee chat, and people are really open and friendly and like willing to just like jump on the phone and like talk something through with you. So it's a great resource. But
Yeah.
definitely the thing that has paid back like tenfold is our weekly conversations
Hmm.
every week.
Yeah.
Um, I
Mhm.
think that that is like the number one. That has been like that made everything worth it. Not that it was like a huge price. I mean, the program when we did it was free.
Yeah.
So we got so much return from that, or at least I did.
Yeah.
But by far, it's definitely like our relationship, our friendship, our accountability thing, week after week,
Yeah.
like the stability of that, like their mental health benefits of that, like the network of that, like the brainstorming, the information that we've been able to pass between each other, like
Mhm.
that has just been like super, super helpful.
I agree, and I hope that this conversation inspires others to do the same, honestly. Like, I tell people
Yeah.
Antler is the best like program to find a co-founder or at least build a network in, because there's not many
Mhm.
programs that facilitate that, and I think that this is a clear example of one of those benefits, and I'm super excited.
Yeah. I I think everyone should have an accountability partner.
Yeah.
I mean, if you are like that type of person that wants to build something, even if it's not like I want to build a startup, maybe it's just like I want to be writing more.
Hmm.
You think about like a what is it, personal trainer,
Hmm.
where you go and you meet every week and they push you towards that goal of like getting more in shape, losing weight, whatever it is. The accountability partnership for that has been like that, but about work. Like, and for us, work is like this amorphous thing, right? It could
Yes.
be our freelance stuff. It could be startup ideas. It could be a small business idea. It could be like, I don't know, I'm just like making stuff, right? And that has been, if you have that like type of ambition, I think the number one thing I would be like, find someone that you vibe with
Hmm.
that has like a similar goal
Hmm.
and just start meeting every week.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think what makes this work as well is that you and I come from very different backgrounds, but I think we have
Mhm.
a similar-ish type of communication style, and that kind of helps a lot because you have different ideas, different perspective. I do as well, and we're able to bounce ideas off each other in a way that's just amicable and friendly and easy to,
Yeah.
I think a good accountability partnership functions well if both people know how to communicate and don't like point fingers at the other person and make fun of them or ridicule them or make them feel less worth. I think that you and I, this works because
Yeah.
we're have a shared struggle. I don't think you're better than me. You don't think you're better than me. Like it's we're in it together. And I think going through Antler, everyone was in that kind of same boat, right? Like
Yeah.
you go through such
Yeah.
challenges for 10 weeks, you know?
Yeah. I think the other thing, besides our communication style, I think, which I agree with, I think it's also we both have like a shared dedication to it, to like showing up. Like,
Mhm.
even if I know I didn't complete my task or I don't have anything to talk about this week because I didn't do shit, like for me, this past couple of months, which by the way, I feel like our partnership, like it's been bumpy since I like had a baby, so it's been like like on and off. So I'm in a period of my life where it's like I have this newborn, I gotta like do this thing. I'm not always like there, but showing up regardless is something that's so important, right? For me, it's like I have a newborn, it's a little bit wonky. Your understanding with that has been instrumental, right? Knowing that this is a phase, and then we'll start to go back to a better cadence, or like whatever it is, right? And that's just how life is, right? This is the situation. But like that dedication for just to show up and like save the time and know that it's important. Like my husband knows this is my college leave. It's really important. I need to do this. Like I can't cancel it. If I cancel, I gotta move it. But like I can't, that's the best I can do is I can move it. Like
Right.
that's,
Right.
I can't just like not show up. Because also it's about not just like the accountability that I get, but also the accountability that you get, right? It's like,
Yep.
well, what if Lee has a question this week?
Mhm.
Just because I didn't do anything, or I didn't, I had a baby and I was too busy, just because I didn't get what I wanted to get done
Mhm.
doesn't mean that Lee didn't get what, doesn't have like a running list of like stuff that he wants to like share or like wants to bounce off me. And like I want to be there as well, right?
Yep.
I think that's really important too. So like the shared dedication of like it needs to be of equal importance on both of our schedules, where it's like we'll move it if we need to. Yes, we go on vacation. Yes, sometimes it doesn't happen. That's okay. But next week we start fresh. We're gonna show up. And even if you didn't do anything, like only a little bit of judgment, because that's the whole that's
Yes.
the whole point of accountability, is that like you get a little bit of side eye, like, really, you didn't do it. Why didn't you do that?
Mhm. Mhm.
But in a way that like doesn't feel too overbearing, where it's like, I don't even want, like, it's too much. I don't want to do it, knowing
Right.
that like that, I think that mutual understanding and mutual dedication is so important, in addition to like our communication style and our motivations and things like that.
You brought up a really good point. This is a two-way street. It's
Yeah.
not just like I come up and share all my issues and then get advice from you and then go away, right? I want to be able to
Yeah.
listen to you and be there, or be a part of your journey as well, and help you with anything that you have, whether I have something to talk about or not. And yeah, it's not a time to brag. It's not a time to showboat or anything like that. It's a time for just working stuff out. So I'm so
Yeah.
thankful that, the universe brought you into my life during the Antler program, and that we're able to do this. And thank you so much for coming on to this podcast. We do have a closing tradition, in the sense that the last guest has left a question for you, and you'll leave a question for the next guest. Are you ready for your question?
Okay.
All right.
Yes, I am.
This is a good one. All right. So, what legacy or impact do you want to leave behind for future generations?
I think that this goes back to like the education thing, where I would like to be able to facilitate people becoming more independent and in control of the hours that they spend in their lives, how their life goes, by learning. So if like example is freelance English teachers. If you can choose to teach English because it fulfills you, but run your own business, uh, teach freelance the way you're doing, so you can have more flexibility over your hours while still leaving the world better than you found it. That's it. That's all, right? With my kids, it's like if I can, right? My oldest right now is 9, and my only goal for school is that she loves to learn.
Mhm.
Like if I could just instill in or help people love to learn, and through that learning, um, gain independence, gain whatever it is that helps them in that way. That is the kind of, I think that's like the legacy that I I would want to leave.
Amazing, amazing. I think we both have very similar like goals in terms of
Hmm.
impact we want to have on the world. I don't usually answer these questions, but I will today, in the sense that I want to impact millions of people around the world as well. Through
Hmm.
education, through anything, I want to inspire people to be better versions of themselves. It's very similar, I think, in terms of that. And I'm
Yeah.
doing that through obviously my YouTube channel, but also uh, hopefully through a startup that will spread through technology and to every country around the world. So beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Hmm.
That's why we're, such great partners. Now it's
Yeah.
it's your turn.
I would like them to reflect on a life experience that might be the opposite of what their own is.
Mhm.
And this sounds really vague, but the example I want to give is that I just had a baby.
Mhm.
And so this period of time is not negotiable, right? There's like a baby in the other room.
Yes.
I have constraints in my life right now that are not movable.
Mhm.
And as much as I still want to have my own business, do the entrepreneurship thing, play around with business ideas,
Mhm.
I have to go about that in a different way than
Mhm.
I could a couple months ago.
Mhm.
And it is, a changing part of time in my life. It will not always be like this. But in the, I think in the startup and in the entrepreneurship um, environment, this point of view is, this experience is often completely overlooked.
Mhm.
Right. And so I would love for other entrepreneurs to think about other points of view like this and what you could learn from considering what someone else might be dealing with.
Mhm. All right. So to summarize,
I don't know. So maybe just to summarize, to just like reflect on a different point of view. What is a point of view completely different from your own? And what is maybe one takeaway that you can get from that person's experience?
okay. Interesting. Yeah, I can think of many different right now, especially in the US.
Right?
In the US, but
Right, exactly. Right. There's a lot of stuff going on.
yeah.
So if it just like, I don't know, spend some time. I don't know. I think that not enough people do like self-reflection.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so my question for the next guest is to do some self-reflection, maybe just like a minute.
Mhm.
Think about someone that might have like the opposite. Maybe you saw like a news reel or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
How would you approach the problem that you're currently going through if you were someone else?
Oh, okay, through a different perspective, especially somebody who's opposite of you. Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I know it's a little bit convoluted. You didn't give me time to make it succinct.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, that's a really powerful question, I think, because yeah, we can get stuck in our own ways of thinking in one track. So that's a great one.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
Chad, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on. I always enjoy our conversations, and I'm glad we could share this one with.
same.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
That's a wrap for this episode of the Product Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like and subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, or leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps this channel grow. And if you are a product manager or a startup founder who wants to share your story or some of the struggles that you've gone through in your career, then definitely reach out to us. We'd love to have you on. And until next time, happy building, everyone.